Um, the Germans had already surrendered after the war, 2 days before, the 5th. And but Amsterdam was not liberated yet. We still had the German army and the SS were still in Amsterdam. And the Canadian army was ready to come into the city and liberate us, but they waited too long, really. And the population of Amsterdam was, of course, besides themselves with joy and wanted to celebrate. So, but there was already fighting between the Dutch underground, the resistance, who were always armed, always had been armed, but were now openly carrying weapons. And my father and mother warned me not to go down to Amsterdam because it was dangerous. But being a teenager who had been through a lot of danger through the past 5 years, I didn't listen, and I went to downtown Amsterdam. So I went there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was standing in front of the Royal Palace, and all of a sudden we heard shooting, and we didn't know where it came from, and there were thousands, it's a big square of celebrating people already, laughing and singing, and then we heard those shots, so everybody panicked, and I panicked, and I had learned in the years before, if shooting starts, you go flat. And I did that. And that was maybe a dumb thing to do because everybody started running over me. And I was trampled. There were hundreds of people going over me, and well, the ground was kind of hard and my lungs were collapsing and I didn't get any air and I lost consciousness. And before I lost consciousness, I remember thinking, I disobeyed my parents. I should not have come. I remember so well that thought went through my head. But I think God was good to me. I woke up. I still probably had some breath in me or air in my lungs, and I woke up. And when I woke up, I saw people around me lying down, dead, wounded, I don't know. I had blood on myself, on my clothes. And I found a shelter in a big department store underneath. Kicked in a window with some other people because the shelter was full and they didn't let us in, and we were so panicked. So we kicked in a window. I still owe that department store a window. And so we were in that very crowded shelter, and then we heard all kinds of rumors, among other things, that we had to stay there, and the Germans didn't want to give over Amsterdam, so there will be fighting and no food, and we heard all that, and I thought by myself, I have to get out of here and walk home. And walking home was an hour to the south, because I was in center. So the man in the shelter said, okay, 15 people can go out on their own, at their own risk. And he was counting, 1, you, 2, you, 3. I thought, shall I go, shall I go? And then he said 14, and somebody came, and then he said 15, and I got up and said, okay, I'll go. So I went, and I found a nurse who also went out, and the two of us went walking home. And that took us about 1.5 hours because the streets were barricaded, they were fighting in the streets, and we had to take shelter on the way. And finally I came home, and my whole face was bloody and messed up because of the contact with the ground. And I came home and my mother looked at me, and the first thing she said was, "We told you so." And that was really the war.